After 6 months of using this and about 80,000 images, this is my review and thoughts on the Nikon Z6ii. So we just finished our wedding season, and this is the first full wedding season that we've used the Nikon Z mirrorless system. My wife and I have 3 of them we use for our wedding business, and I have taken this thing to the test. Before I start, and to give you some context, before this camera, I had the Nikon D750 for years before that. So this was a pretty major upgrade for us, and it was very exciting and gave us a lot of new features that we didn't have before. So keep that in mind. First off is size. This camera is definitely smaller than things that I'm used to, especially compared to my Contax 645, my film camera. That thing is an absolute beast, and this thing feels a little bit of a toy camera at times. I thought I wouldn't like how small it is because I do have big hands, so much so that I actually, when I first got this camera, I got the battery grip for it. It ended up that battery grip was dysfunctional, and so I returned it and just decided to try it out with just the body, and I actually ended up loving it. Mostly because the smaller size also means lighter weight. Image quality is fantastic on this camera. The colors don't do any weird things that are really different from the previous Nikon sensors. I didn't notice a massive difference. I thought the colors looked good. They look good with our workflow. They fit kind of with the presets that we use and that we've created for ourselves. So I don't know, the colors are great and I love them. The low light capabilities on this camera are, they're wonderful. And I pulled up 20 examples for you. So these are examples from all over the spectrum, from 100 ISO to, I think the highest is 40,000 ISO. So that's quite a range. One of the most common ISOs that I use is 100 ISO and 400 ISO. So starting off, this is black and white image at 100. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about the specifics of the image quality, but I did kind of want to give you an idea of the color, the vibrance. This does have all of our presets on it. This is not right out of camera. But like, we've been so happy with these images. We think they just look incredible, if we can say that ourselves. Like, I don't know. But those have all been 100 ISO so far. This is 125. But I've just been in love with the colors. Here's a 400 ISO shot. Okay, this is where we're getting into 1,000 ISO. Now, I remember when I had my, what was it? Like Nikon 610 or 600 or something. Like using 1,000 ISO was getting a little dicey there. 1,000 ISO on this camera is just like not even a problem at all. And zooming in, like, maybe not zooming in that much, that's not like that helpful, but look, zooming in, like, look at this. There is like very little noise. Some of that noise is added for our film preset, but like at 1,000 ISO, cameras are amazing. This is where it gets all really fun, and that is in like the dark reception areas. That's where I've had the most fun with this camera this summer. For like this, I'm shooting at 6,400 ISO. Still, a little bit of grain, no problem. Another 6,400 ISO, 4,000, 8,000 ISO. I think the thing that I really love and what this has added to my workflow, especially in kind of dancing images, is that we really like more of a natural feel in the dancing images. We don't love that kind of like blown out flash kind of like party look. We want it to still feel like what it felt like. And when you replace it with flash completely, you lose some of the essence of the evening. And what I love about shooting at 8,000 ISO is that you can keep that, you can retain that by using the available light that was there. And so shots like this is like what this camera is making possible, and I love it. I thought I would just show a couple images of like, just like outdoor, lots of light. This is 100 ISO again. Okay, I think this was like the best example of what this camera can do. This is an extreme image, so this is not like portfolio image. I just looked through at the highest ISO images that I used, and this thing is at 40,000 ISO, which, like, the fact that you can even just have colors and there's an image at 40,000 ISO is pretty incredible. It's not like I'm gonna like purposely go to use like these type of images all the time. But if you're in a scenario where you just don't have light and you need to get this image, 40,000 ISO, like what in the world? That is wild. Back to 100 ISO, another 100 ISO image. This is another image that I think, this is like the first time getting images like this at this quality with this little amount of light. This is at 4,000 ISO, and it doesn't feel like it's being pushed at all. Even if you zoom in, you can definitely see some grain, but I don't think it's getting to that point where it's getting kind of ugly and muddy. You know, sometimes when you get that really high ISO, you just kind of lose the color, you lose everything, it just kind of starts to look ugly. Well, it's at 4,000 and it's still looking pretty good. And then this is 16,000 ISO. Quite insane, a quite insane level ISO. The focus system on this camera is one of the just like ridiculously big upgrades that we got from going from the Nikon D750 and SLR camera to this mirrorless camera. The, you know, eye tracking, face tracking systems is just like ridiculous, especially if you've never had it before. I would say this system is definitely not perfect. I would say it gets it about 80% of the time. But 80% of the time is a huge upgrade from no face detection before. One of the big concerns that I had about switching to mirrorless was the battery situation. I didn't want to be in a scenario where I was losing battery at the most inconvenient time, that I'd have to carry around tons of batteries. But it's kind of bad and kind of good. I would say the first thing is that if you do get this system, and you have the ENEL15 batteries. These are the batteries that I had with my old SLR system. And I have a whole bunch of these, and I thought like, oh, I could probably use them. The thing that I came across while using these older batteries is that, you know, it would say like it's on low battery or maybe even half battery, and then all of a sudden it would die very quickly. And one time it did die at a very inopportune moment, and I was like, this is a bad scenario for this. Thankfully, I always keep extra batteries on me, so I just swapped it out and it was fine. So I used the ENEL15C batteries. These are like the updated version. We have 6 of these. So for a full wedding day, we typically go definitely through the 6 of them, and we start getting into the last 3 backup batteries. Something that makes a big difference to this is your standby menu. So that's kind of how long your screen turns on or stays on after you've taken an image, how long your menus stay open. And so I found kind of a sweet spot where you're not having to kind of turn on your camera all the time or wake it up all the time in order to take a photo. This is maybe a random thing to talk about, but see how big these are? I can actually hit them with my hands. And I don't think I've ever used custom buttons before because I think they were kind of hard to find or in a weird spot for my hands. But I found that these new custom buttons, maybe because they're longer or in a better spot, I just can like hit them with my fingers, and I use them a lot more now. What I have in my custom menus is apply settings to live view. That's the setting that you want to change if you start using flash with your mirrorless camera, because your mirrorless camera wants to look at the current settings and it doesn't realize that the flash is going off. I also have white balance, format memory card, time zone and date, and then flicker reduction shooting. So part of this new system is the fact that they come with 2 cards, and not just 2 cards, 2 different types of cards. Maybe I'm just kind of a little bit like, I don't know, OCD is the right word for it, but I just like things to be the same and like whatever. And so it's kind of annoying that there's two different types of cards. However, buffering of images is no longer an issue. And I am so grateful for this, because that used to be a real issue with my old cameras, is that you'd be, something would be happening and you'd be shooting a lot of images and all of a sudden you get the dreaded like yellow light flashing, like trying to catch up with you. And I have never, not once, over 6 months and almost 80,000 images, not once did I have that buffering issue, which is glorious. I'm going to briefly touch on video. Well, you tell me. that's what this YouTube channel is being filmed on. These cameras, I don't do a ton of video, but for the video that I do, for our personal kind of branding work and for this YouTube channel, I think it's been incredible. It's so nice to have automatic face tracking. That's like, oh, amazing. So yeah, I think for what I use it for, love the video. I haven't really done any testing with any other videos, so I don't know about any other brands, but for what I'm looking for, video's awesome. And then the last thing is the lenses. I've already done a review on one of my favorite lenses, the kind of main lens that I use, the 51.2. But these lenses that Nikon have developed with this mirrorless system are quite amazing. I don't think you're gonna be handicapped in any way by getting this system and switching from the old lenses. I definitely did not. I felt like I got an upgrade in every way. Okay, here's all the bad things. Just in case you think I just love everything and I have nothing bad to say about this camera, I do. They're very random things, but there's some things that I really dislike. The first thing I really dislike is the ISO button. Now, I'm kind of happy that they put an ISO button in here, but I hate where it is. Like my finger, for whatever reason, I think because, again, I have big fingers, I have to go back. It's like I wanna hit the record button every time instead of the ISO button. I think the screen is fine and it's great. I'm glad that at least it comes out like this. But one thing that is disappointing is that I do shoot a lot of vertical and actually not a ton horizontal. So when I have my camera vertically like this, I would have loved for the screen to be able to come out like this so I could look down at it. The last thing I'll say is about the highlights. This is just a guess of mine. I don't have real data about this, but I feel like the highlights on this camera are a little bit more sensitive than they were before. The dynamic range of this camera is a lot better, but somehow I feel like the highlights are a little bit more sensitive. I might be crazy and I might be wrong on that, but the shadows are very forgiving. That's what I do love, and I've gotten used to shooting that way with Nikon, is that the shadows have all of the forgiveness. I hope that was helpful if you're looking at getting this camera or if you're just curious about how Nikon is not completely screwing up these days. Welcome to a lot of you who are new to the channel. There has been a lot of new people recently. Thanks so much for following along on this channel. And I love hearing from you. I love your comments. And I have a lot of exciting photos that I cannot wait to share with you in the next couple weeks.